And I want you to understand my thought pattern and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I talk to children all the time, and you know what I always tell them? If you're with a group of friends and you all are planning a robbery, you might as well go in the store yourself with a gun, because if somebody else went in the store with a gun, it's like you went in the store with a gun. That's the way Texas law operates. And my problem with you is I understand you're young, and that's what I'm trying to balance. I'm balancing the fact that you're young. I'm balancing the fact that you didn't have a gun, because I've had clients before where they're just the lookout. Somebody gets killed, they're charged with murder, they're looking at life in prison. All right, everyone, we're going to go on the record. Court is calling 2020-25 CR 007922, State versus Jesus Suarez Marino. Can I have parties announced for the record?
We're paying for the state of Texas.
Javier Padilla for the defendant.
And are you Mr. Marino? All right, you're here for a motion to reduce bond, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, we were here on October 7th. The motion to reduce bond at that time was withdrawn by the defense. The state agreed for your witnesses to be able to appear by Zoom, but you wanted your witness in person, that's correct?
And they're here today, Judge.
All right, state, have you had a chance to review the defense's motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you in agreement to a bond reduction? All right, defense, it's your motion. You may proceed. Do you have any witnesses?
I do. I would like to call Mr. Alex Afron.
Oh, here, sir. I'm right here with your back against.
And counsel, your client does not need an interpreter.
No,
Okay.
my client does not. Just his mother. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
My name is Alex Efron.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Yeah, A is an apple, F is in Frank, R is in Robert, A is an apple, M is in Mary.
All right, you may proceed.
Good morning, Mr.
Morning.
All right, and so if you all could do me a favor, because the court reporter has to hear, and I know it's normal to face counsel. Yes. All right, and if you'll keep your voice up for the court reporter. All right, defense, you may proceed.
We're here on a bond reduction hearing for Jesus Suarez Moreno. Do you know Jesus?
I sure did.
How do you know him?
I am his boss.
Okay. Tell me about your business. What kind of business do you have?
I'm a licensed general contractor here in San Antonio. We've been in business for many years, and Jesus was one of my good employees.
Okay. What kind of work does he do for you?
Jesus is an electrician.
Do you know his family as well?
I do. I know his wife. I know his kids. Yes.
Has Jesus been a good employee for you?
Yes, it's been excellent. Yeah.
Would you say he's been dependable,
Yes, absolutely.
reliable?
Yes, absolutely.
If he's granted bond, do you believe he will appear for any court?
Absolutely, he will. Yes, yes.
Do you have any concern or fear that he might flee and not appear for court?
No, not at all.
So if he is released on bond, does he have a job waiting for you?
Yes, I
For him
absolutely.
with you?
Sure, absolutely. The
Yeah.
moment he's out, I'll hire him back right away.
Okay. And how much does he get paid per hour?
He gets paid about $250 per day.
Per day?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. And he works how many days a week?
He works about 5 days.
And there's plenty of work for him, so he will be actively employed when he's busy.
Absolutely, yes.
I'll pass the witness. Your Honor.
State.
Good morning.
I guess start.
Yeah.
Thank you. You said you're a general contractor.
Yes, sir.
What is Mr. Smart's position?
Electrician,
Electrician.
Mhm.
And how long has he been looking for?
over 5 years?
5 years.
Mhm.
Okay. Any issues with his work during that time?
No, not at all.
Has he ever shown a place to work at any point?
No, he always shows up.
And you said he makes how much per day, sir?
About 250?
$250?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an electrician.
Yeah. Does he get paid cash and give him checks weekly? Or
I'll pay him cash.
Cash?
Yeah.
Cash daily?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said he works 5 days a week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware of any problems you may have with alcohol or substance abuse?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Has he ever shown concerns to you about it?
No,
Are you aware of the charge that's been given?
I'm kind of aware of it, yes.
Are you aware a little bit of the facts about what happened or not?
Not the whole facts, but I've heard about it.
Um, so despite this, you would feel comfortable hiring him?
Absolutely. He's been around my family, my wife, my daughter, my kids. We've been in multiple homes with multiple females in there. No problem at all.
What type of job site do you guys go to on a regular basis?
We do full rehabs,
So is it residential or commercial?
residential.
Residential.
Mhm.
These residential homes that you come to, are they occupied by the people or are they gone when you guys are working?
Sometimes they're occupied by people, but majority of them are not occupied.
When they are occupied by people,
Mhm.
is it men, women that are there?
Mostly women,
Also women?
mostly women, yes.
The further questions of some afterwards.
Nothing further.
All right, I have a couple of questions. Any objections?
Thanks, Dave.
All right, so these homes that he's in,
Mhm.
is there any supervision by anyone else or is he in there by himself?
A lot of times he's by himself. We assign him the job and he's by himself. I've never heard anything negative.
And these hours that he works or would be working with you, are these daytime hours, nighttime hours?
Sometimes nighttime, sometimes daytime. It depends on customers.
And would it be on the weekends as well?
Sometimes on weekends, yes.
All right, thank you so much for coming
Your
in
Honor.
and thank you for dressing appropriately for court.
Thank you.
All right, you may call your next witness.
I'll call Maria Moreno.
All right, we have an interpreter for this witness, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And is the language Spanish?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, if I can have the interpreter, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully translate from English into Spanish and Spanish into English, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Catalina Delgado, spelled Delgado, license number 2222.
All right, if the witness, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you may lower your hand. All right, defense, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Tell us your name, please.
María del Socorro Moreno.
María del Socorro Moreno.
And are you the mother of Jesus Suarez Moreno?
Soy la mamá de Jesús Suárez Moreno.
I am the mother of Jesus Suarez Moreno.
Tell me about your family. How many children do you have?
6 hijos.
I have 6 children.
And Jesus, where does he fit in that group of 6?
Es el más chico. ¿Cómo? Más chico. Okay.
He's the youngest. He's the youngest.
And you have grandchildren, great-grandchildren?
7.
17.
Okay. Now, are you employed?
No.
Espera hasta aquí. If I may, Judge.
That's okay.
She's answering before.
No. So, excuse me, Miss. So we either have to use the interpreter or not. Sometimes I know that people are in the middle of a conversation and they know how a question is going to go, but it would make it so easy for the court reporter if you'll wait until the interpreter finishes interpreting and then answer.
Está bien.
Very well.
Okay.
Gracias.
Let's interpret. Okay, where was I? Grandkids, 17 grandkids. Okay. Are you retired? Are you still employed?
I don't work, I'm retired.
Okay. And where is your address? Where do you live? If your son is released on bond, would he be living with you?
Sí,
Yes,
Have you ever known? You know Jesus is an electrician, right?
sí,
yes,
Have you ever known him to not show up to work, to skip work, to not call in, any of those things?
no, no,
no,
Has he always been good and dependable about his employment?
yes,
Now, do you know how much the bond is in this case?
sí,
yes,
How much is it?
123. 123.
123,000.
Actually, it's 125, but that's close enough.
Okay,
Uh, do you know that to post a bond in Bear County generally, you need 10%?
Sí,
yes,
And in this case, 10% would be $12,500.
sí.
yes,
Can you afford to come up with $12,500?
No,
no,
Okay. Would any amount of bond that the judge sets, would that be paid by you?
sí, la mitad de esa cantidad.
yes, half of that amount.
You would get help with whatever the amount is.
Sorry?
No, you said half. Does that mean that somebody else would pay the other half?
de, no, yo pagaría, pero, o sea, me dijo que
Okay,
I would pay, but you said half.
no, está enseñando, sí.
So half would be 12?
Sí, sí. No, la mitad.
Half.
Ajá. De
Okay.
eso.
now, if the judge lowers the bond to say 30,000,
Ujú.
would you be able to come up with
Yes.
$3,000?
Sí, yes, sí,
Yes,
sí.
Okay. Would you be able to come up with any more than $3,000?
five.
So you could come up with $5,000, meaning the bond would be 50,000.
Yes,
And is that what you would like the judge to set the bond at?
yes,
And you know that, of course, if you put up that money, you're responsible. So you would you assure the court that Jesus would show up to court for all these future hearings?
Sí.
yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, state.
Yes, Your Honor. My name is so, okay, so this is your son,
Sí, sí.
Yes, sir.
and you said how many children do you want?
6.
6.
Okay, how many of those are sons and how many of those are daughters?
4 mujeres y 2 hombres.
4 females and 2 males.
Okay, so 4 daughters and 2 sons,
Sí,
Yes,
and you're saying if this is the youngest, correct?
más chico.
the youngest.
He's the youngest, okay. What are the ages of your other children, please?
And el fish tiene 52.
The first one is 52.
La mujer, Fish, la primera hija tiene 49.
And the second child, my first daughter, she's 49.
Sí, no, no, sobre 48.
The next one is 48, the other daughter.
46.
The third child, also a woman, she's 46.
La otra, 40.
The next one is 40.
Sí. and when I can play.
And then Chewy, my son, I'm not exactly sure, but I believe he's 34.
That's who's your son, 34?
Yes, I'm not.
We're going in military.
I believe so. He was born in 93.
Okay, so your oldest son is 52 years old, and you have four daughters that are 49, 48, 46, and 40. Okay,
Yes.
and where do your other son and your four daughters live?
My first son is in Mexico. And my other two daughters are here. And the two daughters in Mexico.
Two daughters in Mexico and two daughters here. Do the two daughters that are living here live with you?
No,
Okay, so
they're married.
they're married. Okay, so who lives with you?
So
I live alone.
Okay, so if
I love my house.
okay, so if your son Jesus is granted bond, he'll come live with you, is that correct? Okay,
Yes, sir.
you said you had 17 grandchildren as well? Congratulations.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
do you know how many of those are granddaughters and grandsons? That's probably the last one, I'll take that. What are the general age ranges of your grandchildren?
La mayor tiene 28, es doctora en Monterrey. El segundo es hombre, tiene 20.
That's we don't have to do one at a time. What's your oldest one and what's your youngest?
Sí, tiene 28 y la más chiquita tiene va a cumplir 8 en diciembre.
My oldest granddaughter is 28. She's a doctor in Monterrey. My youngest granddaughter out of all of them, she's 8. She's going to be 8 in December.
Now, of those 17, you have more granddaughters or grandsons?
I have 3 great granddaughters.
Okay, so 3 granddaughters and then the other 14 are grandsons, is that?
3 great
Oh, great
granddaughters.
granddaughters. Oh, okay. Well, congratulations. Okay. Now you said that if he was granted bond, you would pay half of that amount, is that correct?
Yes.
But who would pay the other thing?
That's what I'm going to pay.
Right, you pay one half, but who pays the other?
¿Cuánto sería en total? Es que yo estaba nada más para de los dos de la mitad.
How much would be the total? Because I thought from the 12, I would pay half.
Right, okay, all right, so we'll find out who is gonna pay the other half, correct? All right, now, if your son comes to live with you or any of your daughters, your great granddaughters, gonna come visit?
Yes, yes.
Are you aware of the nature of the charge that's currently pending against Jesus?
Yes.
Knowing that he is charged with that, do you have any concerns for the daughter, your granddaughters, and your great granddaughters?
No.
No.
Okay, have you ever been concerned about that type of behavior upon Jesus?
No.
No. Never.
To your knowledge, does Jesus drink alcohol?
Yes.
To your knowledge, have you ever had a concern for him abusing life?
No.
No.
So he wasn't very good at anything?
No.
No.
Only one
Only one beer.
Can we drink one beer at a time?
And one time.
One. So if he's been drunk one time before, I'm confused.
No, not drunk.
Okay, all right, I think it's easy. Do you have alcohol in your home?
No.
No,
Jesus comes to live with you, are you gonna allow him to drink in your house?
No.
no.
Okay. Is Jesus by any chance in a relationship with anybody?
I don't understand.
Does he have a girlfriend?
I see. What is it?
He's married.
He has a wife.
He has a wife.
He's
Okay.
married.
And where is she?
It's that, today, or hoy, trabajo.
She worked today.
Where does she live?
And
Right? Does Jesus have
Yes.
children with his wife?
Yes, he has 2 daughters.
What are her daughter pages, please?
The oldest is 12
That's it.
and the other one is 7.
All right, any other questions?
I'll keep it brief.
No.
Do you have any concern that Jesus will do anything harmful to any of his grandkids, kids, children that we talked about?
No.
No,
No.
no doubts.
And Jesus will be with you, so pending trial, he'll be living. That's all.
Yes.
All right, I have a couple of questions. It may just turn out to be one. All right, any objections? Do you have any minor grandchildren who actually spend the night at your home?
No.
No.
So if he were released on bond, one of the conditions most likely will be that he is not allowed to have any contact with minor children. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I have no further questions.
That's all I have to do.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for coming down and for dressing appropriately for court.
Thank you.
Oh, and excuse me to the interpreter.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if she's still going to need you to know what happens.
Okay, I'll see you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other witnesses?
No, Judge, that's all I have.
All right, state any witnesses.
Not from the state.
All right, the court will hear argument unless there's any evidence from the state.
The only evidence without just entering the report is 6 Exhibit 1.
Any objections?
No, Judge.
Alleged. Any alleged relationship between the defendant and the complainant?
I don't think they were related.
And the reason why I say that, because I'm reading State's Exhibit number 1, and State's Exhibit number 1, it was mentioned that there's an allegation of a criminal trespass at that location, but then the person is stating that they never signed a request that he not be allowed on the property. So that's why I'm trying to figure out what is the alleged relationship.
They do know each other, Judge, but as far as a relationship, there really isn't one.
All right, so you'll give that to the court reporter, please. All right, the court will hear argument. Defense, what are you asking for?
Judge, as you know, it's the offense is sexual assault. It's not aggravated sexual assault. There are, from you read the report, there's no independent witnesses who said they saw something, they heard something, they know something.
All right, so here's what I'm telling everyone, because I want the record to be clear. I have not received any testimony. My role here today is just to decide bond, not decide whether it's true or not.
Other than what you've read, what exists. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Mr. Murdoch has been in jail since April 1, so it's over 6 months. The bond, I think, is high at
So what are you requesting for a bond amount?
30,000, Your Honor.
All right, defense is requesting 30,000 for a bond. What are you requesting?
Request of the bond state the amount that it is, we feel that it's appropriate for the charge, the facts has alleged up to this point, and there's been criminal history. He does have a DWI on his record card, as well as a family decent assault here in Bear County. So it seems like this behavior is,
What do you mean a pending indecent assault?
I mean, I'm sorry, my laptop, it doesn't show a, conclusion, like, for a DWI can proceed, deferred education.
No, I'm back to the indecency. What is that?
I'm not aware of
Oh,
that.
no, I'm sorry, that's the issue.
I'm not
All right,
aware.
so you're telling me all he has is DWI?
On his record.
All right. If there's nothing else, this is what the court is going to do. Since there was no evidence presented to the court on what he's able to pay, what is in his bank account.
His mom, Judge, that's all he's got.
Well, I mean, no evidence has been presented to the court what his bank account is and how much money he has. This is what the court is going to do. The court is going to set his bond at $70,000. There's going to be partial GPS for employment only. Waive GPS fees. All right, is there anything else?
Says that you are for no contact with the victim and minor children.
All right, there's to be no contact with the complainant, and there's to be no contact. Well, is the complainant a minor?
No, Judge.
Complaint is not a minor.
No,
All right, there's to be no contact with the complainant and no unsupervised contact with minors. All right, so he is due back here on, I think, the 20th for the state to tender an offer. State, are you able to tender an offer today?
And you get your own.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, I need a 30-day reset for a plea deadline date. All right, we'll be back on November 20th. At that time, you need to let the court know whether or not you've reached an agreement with the state. If you have not reached an agreement, then your next setting will be a jury trial date, and that will be sometime in the new year. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Record may state to do one year.
Once it's entered into the record, it's there. Yes. If you want to make a copy of it, I'm sure she'll allow you to do that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
And Judge, now that we're off the record, in 30 years, I'll be 100 years old.
But you don't even look close to
I
that.
hope I'm not still working.
It was just turn into Mr. Judge, so bar over what
What page was Moreno on, please?
Page 2.
All right, thank you. Anyone else ready?
Yes, Judge. Next one is on page 5, 6.
Lincoln Mertens.
Present Judge.
All right, where's your client?
Mr. Martin?
He's in custody, Judge.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, so on this case, where are we on discovery?
Yes, Judge. So this is our first setting. I've gone through some discovery. There is a large amount of discovery that I need to get the DA's office a copy. It's too large to download and it's probably about half a terabyte, I believe. There are two other co-defendants. I believe that my understanding is the DA's office was copying all of the discovery into one file because there's duplicates and every, and then they were gonna be making copies. Or not sure if they're making copies or we need to get copies of that discovery.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll recall it in 30 days to see where we are. Ms. Ferguson, I need a 30-day reset for discovery.
November 20th.
All right, so we'll be back on November 20th, and that's just for me to see where you all are on discovery. What I can tell you, if this case goes to trial, it'll be sometime in the new year. All right, do you have any questions?
Right, Judge, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too. This is very odd. Why is he A on some cases and C on others?
Probably list them on, as a co-defendant.
No, I mean, but on some cases he's C, in some cases he's A.
I did. I just, you should mention one thing. It's time.
Remember borrow your list there. Thank you.
Who's that? Mark Oxford. No, he's on the.
John, that's it.
Yeah. I-
Have all of these. Because
All right, who is next?
next is page 10. First one has to search.
Jesus Lopez.
Morning.
Good morning. So is this for sentencing? What are we here for?
The judge, this is an MTR that was set today.
Mhm.
I believe.
I need the MTR paperwork. Thank you. Yes,
And the state wants to address you about it.
I mean,
yes.
we're not able to reach an agreement on this at this time, the allegations of the MTR are two new number ones out of Nueces County. We know nothing about him. I did call Nueces County this morning to try to talk to the ADA, to see what's going on with them. If there's anything else we could allege as a potential technical, because he's not willing to plead true to these at this time. I haven't received a return call back.
All right, Ms. Ferguson, set this for a contested MTR in 20 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. What date? November 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll have you back here November 3rd. Thank you.
Not going on to get this.
Oh, defense. Do you have any objections to witnesses appearing by Zoom? Hand for the record. Do you solemnly swear and affirm you will faithfully translate from English into Spanish and Spanish into English, so help you God?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Catalina Delgado, license number 2222.
And are you Alex Avila?
Yes.
And counsel, have you been able to communicate with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we're here for a sentencing. Have both parties received the PSI and TAP evaluation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI or TAP evaluation from either side?
No, Your Honor, just some clarification points on the PSI. So, on the previous, it says previous criminal history. We're coming together on all of the cases. So that's just to note there was no actual prior to these instances.
This part of the courtroom felt different, more intense, more personal. A man stood there, not just fighting a case, but fighting for a chance to get out on bond. His boss came forward as a witness and described him as a hardworking, reliable employee, someone who always shows up, someone who has a job waiting for him the moment he's released. Then his mother spoke, and that changed everything emotionally. She talked about her family, her children, her grandkids, and how her son would live with her if released. She even said she was willing to pay whatever she could to help him get out. You could feel the tension between facts and emotions. On one side, the law. On the other side, family support and trust. The judge listened carefully to everything: job, family, money, responsibility. Because in moments like this, one decision can impact an entire life. Freedom isn't just given, it's evaluated. Every detail matters. And in the end, the question isn't just about the case, it's about risk, trust, and responsibility. So ask yourself, if you were the judge, would you trust his family and give him a chance, or play it safe and keep him behind bars?
Were taking place.
All right. Are there any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, we have one, Marisol Morales, if we could call her to this.
All right, if you'll call your witness in.
Defense would like to call Marisol Morales.
All right, if you'll remember to keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
Marisol Morales.
All right, you may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Morales. Can you state your occupation for the court today?
I am a licensed master social worker for the Public Defender's Office.
And I'm so sorry, if you could not turn towards her when you speak, it's just so the court reporter can hear. Thank you.
Ms. Morales, how long have you been with the Public Defender's Office?
Approximately 8 years.
And what do you do for the office?
I meet with our felony clients to do assessment.
Do you have any background in the work that you do, any licensures?
Yes, like stated, I'm a licensed master social worker with a specialty in mental health and substance use. I'm a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I have a certification as a trauma professional. I've completed approximately 3,000 hours of clinical supervision with mental health diagnosing and assessing. I've worked in the mental health and substance use field for approximately 27 years.
And have you worked with clients around these type of charges before?
I've provided expert testimony in 17 felony cases.
Has that been here with Bear County
Yes, ma'am.
and other counties?
No.
Ms. Morales, is this a copy of your resume?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm tendering a copy to the court and to prosecution defense exhibit A copy of Ms. Morales's CV.
Any objections to the court reviewing the CV? No. All right, then defense exhibit A will be admitted.
Your Honor, at this time, due to Ms. Morales's education, licensure, and over 27 years of experience in the fields of mental health, trauma, and substance use, we'd like to offer her as an expert in social work.
All right, any objection? No. All right, you may proceed.
Ms. Morales, are you familiar with the case today?
I am.
How did you get started with it?
It was referred to me as the attorney for the case.
Do you create any logs when you review information?
I do. I prepare notes or take notes, yes, when I'm meeting with an individual.
And so you're familiar with Mr. Alex Avila, correct?
Very, yes.
What did those meetings look like?
We met over the course of the summer, approximately 3 months. I spent about 20 hours with him, interviewing, assessing his life history.
Is that your normal routine with felony clients?
Yes, with any claim.
And how long are these meetings?
Anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half.
Are they in person? Are they over video?
It's a
Like,
mix- it's a mixture
Okay.
of video and
So you completed an assessment for Mr. Avila.
we did.
How many times do you recall meeting with Mr. Avila?
Probably about 10 times.
And during those meetings, what do you talk about?
We go over his background, childhood, education, family history, just, starting at the beginning, any trauma that the person may have experienced. Just an overall picture of who the person is.
Okay. Do you remember preparing it for Mr. Avila?
Yes.
I'm showing a copy of the assessment. Ms. Morales tendering a copy to the court.
Any objection?
And also to the state.
I would object just to it being admitted, and she can ask questions about like the work that she did, but as far as the
All right, the objection will be sustained.
Ms. Morales, you spoke with Mr. Avila, correct? And what was his background that you?
Very, born and raised in Mexico, parents married, most of his education was from Mexico. Nothing stood out that he reported, any traumatic events as far as any physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. They arrived here in the United States when he was about 16 years old and enrolled in the San Antonio School District.
Did you review any mental health assessments with him?
Did I review any? No,
No, okay.
there were none available.
What about substance use?
We did review his substance use history and he did not meet the criteria for any diagnosis.
I'm gonna move on to different considerations you make when you're meeting with clients. What are the ones that I'm taking to?
Well, when I'm doing an overall assessment for somebody, it's not just looking at their whole life development, what's happened, how did we get here? But I also look at mental health, anything that may have impacted that, anything that may have impacted normal human development. I also conduct assessments for risk.
Are there different type of factors that you take into consideration?
For any risk assessment, whether it's itself or anyone in the court system, we take a look at factors such as the criminal history, the age of the offense, whether any substance use or mental health were factors that played into how we got today, their marital status, their education level, their work history, whether they show any disposition to criminal orientation, several factors.
And let's start with the first type, static factors. What do those include?
The static factors are things that do not change in the person's life, which typically is the criminal history, the age of the offense, their whether their parents were married. There's things that are kind of black and white.
And what did you find for Mr. Avila?
This is his first criminal offense. That was a big factor that impacted his eventual risk level.
And how old was he at the time of the offense?
He was 17.
And does that have any effect on your evaluation?
Well, it's a big consideration when we're talking about risk and how we got here. That's the purpose of my assessment, is just to give context on what happened. And for Mr. Avila, he was 17 at the time of the offense. And as we know, particularly this court, that 17-year-olds don't exactly have always great decision making, but that age their brains are still developing their prefrontal cortex, which is kind of where we have our decision making and our impulse control is not fully developed. And that was one of the factors that I took a look at with Alex.
Does anyone else in this family have any history of criminality that you know of?
No. And I did speak with both parents, and there was no criminal history reported on minors.
What about early behavioral problems?
No, Alex actually was a pretty typical average adolescent. Up until this offense, he was basically going to school, very involved with soccer. There was nothing really outstanding happening in his life prior to something.
You mentioned you reviewed and spoke with him different school records. What did school look like for him based on what you talked about with him and what you reviewed?
Well, it got here when he was about 16. Usually when individuals arrive here when they're younger, it's very much easier to assimilate. They pick up language quicker. Their skills are a little bit more like sponges, but the little bit older that you get, it becomes a little more difficult. But in reviewing his records, he actually was an average student without BNC, no disciplinary or attendance issues.
What about the dynamic risk factors? What are those?
So the dynamic risk factors are things that can see in a person's life. That's where we look at mental health, substance use, their peers, their attitudes towards crime, those things that can fluctuate throughout a person's life course.
And what did you find from Mr. Avila?
Well, one of the things that I take a look at is the behavioral history. And because as we get older, there are individuals who can display pro-criminal attitudes, and that's not something that I found with Alex. And spending time with him and talking to his family, looking up at the school records, he does not display antisocial personality traits at all. He generally thinks more of school, pretty okay, substance use, or mental health that was impacting.
I want to talk more about the impact of him as a young adult. What did you find when looking into the case in terms of the implication of incarceration?
Well, the time of the offense, Alex was 17. Now he is 18. And unfortunately, what the research tells us is that individuals who are in that young adult age group are at much higher risk of victimization in the prison system, especially for first-time offenders that are more at risk for physical and sexual assaults. There was a study 2013, I believe, by the Bureau of Statistics that ranked Texas as one of the highest reporters of violence against individuals between the ages of 18 and 20.
And so how does that involve Mr. Abu?
Well, it places him at high risk. Absolutely. He would be facing significant challenges due to his age, putting him at risk with older, more experienced individuals who are in the system. And that can lead to more issues that come up later on in his life.
In your overall expert opinion after meeting with Alex and conducting all of your research, how would you describe to the court Alex overall?
I would place him probably lower end of being a risk to the community. That's one of the factors that I do take a look at. I understand the nature of the offense of the individual. I understand what has happened, but for Alex, he's got a lot of protective factors that help mitigate those risk factors that he may have. He does have a supportive family, he was going to school, he's single, he doesn't have any children. And I think that would place him at the lower end of being a future risk to the community.
Ms. Morales, did you have a chance to review the pre-sentence investigation report?
I did.
Was there anything you disagreed with within the report?
Maybe not necessarily disagree, I just have a very different perspective because I was able to spend a significant amount of time with Alex. And that would be, I think, the assessor for the PSI put a pre-contemplation contemplation stage, and that would mean that maybe he's not ready to accept what he's coming up against. I would probably place him in the preparation, which is he has expressed a lot of remorse for what has happened. He fully acknowledges and takes responsibility, and I think those are very important factors. We're looking at whether somebody will return to committing crime.
Is there any difference if a youth takes accountability early on versus not taking any accountability at all?
No, like I said, it makes a huge difference. That's actually one of the factors that we also look at when assessing risk.
No further questions, Your Honor. We pass the witness.
All right, State.
You stated that you're familiar with Mr. Abijah, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, you became familiar with him over with 8 times in months of May and August. Is that fair to say? That's okay. And so in your assessment of him, you stated it's your testimony that you place him off of low risk. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so what metric are you using to determine whether he's a risk to the community?
It would be similar to what probation, their TRAS system, uses, looking at the static and dynamic factors. And I did list some looking at antisocial attitudes, antisocial fears, personality patterns, history of antisocial behavior, marital factors, in education, employment, pro-social, leisure activities, criminal history, age of offense, family history. It's similar to what probation uses.
Okay. And so regarding the criminal history aspect of it, you stated that this was his first criminal offense, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so when you're factoring in your assessment, you're aware that he's here for 3 separate aggravated robberies.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, and so when you're doing your assessment, do you just count that as one criminal transaction, or do you factor it in as 3 separate offenses?
3.
Okay, and so it's still your belief that this involvement, 3 aggravated robberies, you believe that he's a low risk to community?
Yes, because I'm not just looking at the offenses. There are other factors that you have to look at in order to make a complete assessment of what their risk is. So although the criminal offenses are a factor, it's not the only thing that we have to take into account.
Okay, and so something else that you take into account is the support that he has surrounding him, is that correct? And that's something that's been unchanged since before and after the offense, correct?
The individuals that are supporting him, no, that has not changed.
Okay, because his parents have been married, correct?
Correct.
He has siblings, correct?
Correct.
They all came to the United States together, correct?
Correct.
They were all living together at the time of this offense, correct?
Correct.
And so how do you factor that into what's going to change between before when he had this support system and chose to commit the crimes and then now?
Well, one of the things that did change in their family makeup was that when they were living in Mexico, mom was a stay-at-home mom and father was the main provider for the household. And that changed when they came to the United States, where both parents had to work. And when we talk about support, it's love and encouragement, but the way the house was running did significantly change from what Alex had been raised with up until the age of 16.
Okay, so it's your opinion that that factors into this choice to go in the 3 aggravated factors.
Based on everything that I know, yes, that is a factor that I also consider.
And is the mother still currently working?
I do not believe so.
Okay, yeah, but either way, I mean, based on your report, one of Alex's siblings has some health issues, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so mother and possibly father got at work, they're pretty busy taking the sibling to different doctor's appointments, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so there's a lot of time periods possibly that if this court were to grant him probation, that he would be alone and possibly falling back to the wrong crowd, correct?
My understanding and in speaking with the family, that dynamic is going to change. That's why it's a dynamic factor. It's things that can fluctuate up and down. And the family has renewed a commitment to do things differently and sort of evaluate the importance of certain things in their life. And one of the things that they have chosen to do as parents is to become more involved and make the necessary changes to provide a supportive environment for Alex.
Okay, but there's still possibility, right, that he would be by himself while the mother's taking the other child to health appointments, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you stated that there's significant challenges in prison. Okay, one could say that there's also significant challenges in the Bexar County Jail, correct?
Correct.
Okay, but Mr. Oculus seemed to get along fine at the Bexar County Jail, right?
There have been, he has been the victim of some physical assaults in the jail.
Have they been reported?
No, and that's really not unusual. If you tell in jail, bad things can happen to you.
But he's made some friends in jail, right? Even an inmate got chose to write a letter on his behalf, correct?
Yes, he has found some peers in the jail.
We possibly.
Just a few clarification and follow-up questions. Ms. Morales, when you're conducting your evaluations and assessments, family is one part of it or all of it?
No, it's one part.
And so when you're sitting down with parents and you're talking with Alex, what are the type of things that you talk about, and what changes do you see?
Well, we discuss the current situation, what their thoughts and feelings are, what they would do different. That's always kind of a difficult topic to talk to parents about. Obviously, parent wants this for their child. But Alex's parents have done some thinking, evaluating what could they do, what could they have done differently. And I think that based on my conversations with them, that it's kind of, it's been their come to Jesus moment, if I may say, realizing that some mistakes were made and the things that they want to do differently.
I know the state asked you a couple of questions about Alex being by himself. Are there any significant risks in any of your assessments when it comes to him maybe being at home with his siblings by himself?
As far as, I'm sorry.
As far as how behaviors or patterns or anything like that when you review the assessments?
Well, obviously, no one is going to be under 24-hour surveillance in their home. So yes, there will be moments that Alex will be by himself or alone with his siblings. And that's where the importance of level of supervision, the engagement with his probation officer or whoever the supervising person is, that's going to be very important. Also, going back to school, doing that full time. He didn't have any disciplinary when he was attending school. And he has really verbalized his understanding of the importance of education if he's to turn things around.
So being on probation would actually help Alex in this instance.
For Alex, yes, there are classes that he would be required to take, reporting requirements, obviously probably UAs that he would have to take. He would be on a more rigid schedule, and also being more around, his parents have committed to being more responsive to any issues that they may see.
And further questions, Your Honor?
Any further questions?
No, Your Honor.
Defense rests.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Any objections? So are you aware that in the stipulations, it says that at the jail, he was using another inmate's PIN number to make phone calls? Elaborate.
So Alex is kind of caught in between the adult but not really adult stage of thinking.
Mhm.
So it's not unusual that peers, people his age, may have a bigger impact at this point. The good thing is that changing can think, that thinking can change. He can learn new skills. His brain, the little prefrontal cortex and the amygdala will be.
The documents, is there anything your client wishes to say?
No.
So if you all can, I understand what the witness stated, but if you all can explain to me how he commits one aggravated robbery, pulls a weapon on somebody. Then in the report, he says he's only doing it. And this is from the stipulations. He's saying he's only doing it because somebody forced him to do it, some man he doesn't know. And that he was at Sam Houston High School attending. But my understanding from testimony is that he was homeschooled. And I guess at some point he went to Sam Houston.
Yes, Your Honor. So he transitioned schools because he was finding himself in a position with these kids that he was trying to escape.
All right.
And
So-
so that was part of the reason why he transferred schools to a different location to try to get away from the environment that he was experiencing.
All right. So if somebody can explain to me how he commits one aggravated robbery, and then the next month he commits another and he doesn't internalize that this is the wrong thing to do.
I think the main thing, Your Honor, that was affecting Alex at this time was his environment and this external pressure, threats, and the people he was around at that time. And with him being so young and trying to understand exactly what is the right decision, how do
How old were
I,
the other people who were with him?
they were around the same age, Your Honor.
Okay.
And it's those situations where, you know, you have a group of young kids, Alex, who wasn't the one, you know, holding the gun to the store clerk, but knows, you know, I'm in this tough position. I'm being threatened. At the same time, I know this is wrong. And I want to be clear, Alex from day one has taken accountability for everything.
Right. So if he's saying that he's being threatened, unless the law has changed, maybe it has, I don't, say that I know everything, but if he's committing an offense under duress, then isn't that a defense?
It is, Your Honor. And we talk about these things with clients on how they wish to proceed. And
So he doesn't want a jury trial?
at this time, no, Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Avila has been through more than most people since his young life. And there are times when, as a kid, he's trying to make the good decisions with the influence of his parents, moving to a new country, trying to get the health care for his brother. And as we stated to the court, he takes accountability for everything, and he knows exactly where he went wrong. And I think one of the things that spoke the most to me was when I was sitting with Mr. Avila and we were talking about letters from people and family, and he's the one himself that said, I wanted to write something to Judge. And we sat several times where we passed revisions. He's like, I want to make it as grammatically correct as possible. what else? What can I talk about? And that exchange really spoke to, I think, the core of who he was and who he is. He's recognized where things have gone wrong, and he's recognized where things can go even worse for him in his life. And I think that's a lesson that a lot of people who come before the court learn at different times. And so for me to see that growth in him at such a young age when speaking with him, I think is what spoke the most to both the social worker and myself. Mr. Avila is someone who was caught in the wrong place, wrong time, wrong factors. But he is also someone who takes accountability. He is also someone who is trying to carve out steps for himself and create a plan of success. And to see that for someone his age, I think is pretty remarkable. I told him the options, and we've discussed what could happen. And, you know, he's asking the court for probation, and he would like the chance to tell you and show you exactly what he is capable of and how he can turn his life around. And I wholeheartedly think that that chance should be extended to him. Let him prove to you. And if not, the alternative as well. But at least give him this chance to show you exactly what he has learned, what he wants to do, and how he wants to move forward with his life, not only to correct the harm that he's caused, but also to become a productive member.
All right, state.
Judge, regarding this offense and the letters that I reviewed during the time of his incarceration, yes, the defendant has come to learn that what he did was wrong, but I mean, he knew it back then. And in his letter that he wrote, he's falling on the sword because he knows that he's coming before this honorable court. I think that in reviewing the stipulations, I think that he's displaying a continued pattern of, you know, with the use of other people's SID numbers, that is against the rules that are in jail. So a pattern of continuing criminal behavior. And then also, I mean, this was not just one aggravated robbery. It was, they hit one store and then are, you know, collecting and appropriating property from that store. And then they go back. And these are people that he met at school, I might add, but, and then they go to another store and then a third store. And so while I understand what counsel is saying, I mean, this was a continued pattern of criminal behavior, violent criminal behavior, where he states that he was aware that these robberies were going to occur and still chose to engage in this criminal conduct, Your Honor.
All right. So here's the thing, and I want you to understand my thought pattern and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I talk to children all the time, and you know what I always tell them? If you're with a group of friends and you all are planning a robbery, you might as well go in the store yourself with a gun, because if somebody else went in the store with the gun, it's like you went in the store with the gun. That's the way Texas law operates. And my problem with you is I understand you're young, and that's what I'm trying to balance. I'm balancing the fact that you're young. I'm balancing the fact that you didn't have a gun, because I've had clients before where they're just the lookout. Somebody gets killed, they're charged with murder, they're looking at life in prison. But you were more than just a lookout. You're opening doors for people. And part of the reason why everybody is charged the same is because historically, if you look at the way the law was written, they're thinking that maybe this crime would not have happened but for your participation. Sometimes if somebody says, well, I'll be the driver to this robbery. Well, maybe if that person would have said, no, I'm not driving anybody, then everybody would have said, well, we can't do this. We're not going to do it. But you continued, and it's not just one. So the state is asking for a cap of 10. I'm balancing your age. Hopefully you have learned something. And I'm also balancing the fact that you did not have a weapon. But at the same time, I'm balancing the fact that after everything happened, you all sat around and counted money. Do you even remember what happened to your share of the money, what you used it on?
None of us.
I didn't spend it.
Sometimes people go to a convenience store, they end up killing the clerk, and you know what? They end up with $20. Is was that clerk's life worth more than $20? Most definitely. Is time going to prison worth more than the $20 you had? So I'm going to find you guilty. Does anybody want to speak to the cap?
Your Honor, we would ask for the lowest possible. We know that the court is taking into consideration everything that is happening. Just so Mr. Avila can get what he has planned, done, and he doesn't waste time in the beginning moving and potentially experiencing more negative things that would harm and actually impact him coming back to the system. We understand the court's position and we understand the things the court's taking into consideration. And I think this is one of the opportunities where the law allows for just this, where you get to exercise your discretion.
Judge, I am asking for the time. I did review everything that was prosecutor went over testimony with the witness, which was provided to me, and that was factored into the plea bargain. And I think another aggravating factor is that there were other people that were with this defendant and this co-defendant that were unidentified. And so we would ask for the 10 years.
All right, the court is going to find you guilty. In each cause number, the court will sentence you to a $2,000 fine. Time and money to run concurrent. Court will give you credit for any time served. The cases will run concurrently. Court will take in consideration 2025 CR 001801A, 2024 CC 741988. There's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. The court will request the therapeutic community. Court will sentence you to 7 years in the prison. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
Yes.
Because it's a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
This courtroom moment started like any other.
Yes.
Names being called,
All right,
people
we can go off the
standing,
record. Here's
routine
the
going
thing. I
on.
understand
But
that
then the
prison
judge
life
said
is
something
extremely
that
hard.
instantly changed the tone.
If
He
I
warned
had all of the
everyone
money in the
clearly,
world and
if
could
I
build
call
a
your
prison
name
the way
and
it
you
should
don't
be built,
respond, I will assume you're
every
not here,
inmate
and a
would have their
warrant
own
may
cell
be
that
issued
wouldn't
for
be
your
4
arrest.
to a cell,
That
5 to
one
a cell,
line
or any
showed
of
how
this.
serious the system really is. This isn't a
But
place where
I
you can be
understand that
careless.
there are
Every
bad things
second
that happen at the
matters.
prison.
Every response
But here's the
matters.
thing.
The judge then
Do
continued
not
explaining strict rules.
waste your
Sign in
time at the
properly, don't
prison.
leave the courtroom,
There's
be
free
ready when
education
your
there.
case
Make
is
sure you
called.
do that.
It may sound
If they
simple,
have a
but in
welding
court,
program,
small
get in a
mistakes can lead
welding
to big
program.
consequences.
And do
Even
not
something as
become
basic as not being present at the
institutionalized.
right time
And
could
do
change your
not get
entire
tattoos
situation.
all over your
The
body,
courtroom isn't
because
just about
people will
laws.
recognize
It's
those
about
as prison
discipline,
tattoos.
timing, and
When
responsibility.
you're released from the
And
prison,
this
if
moment
you
made
have
one
any
thing
problem
very clear.
finding
If you
a
don't take court
place
seriously, the court will take
or
action
any
against you.
alcohol issues
Now,
you
think
have,
about
any
this.
mental health
If your
issues you
name was
have, if I'm
called
still
and
here, you
you
come
weren't
back
ready,
here, I'll
would you
pick up the
risk
phone and find
everything over one small mistake?